Hello, everybody. Ooh, hang on a minute. Well, this is strange. Let's see if we can make this work here. That's a little bit better. How about this one? No, how about this one? Hey. Another ghost in the machine tonight, folks. Welcome to Shadoe at Night for Tuesday, July 29th. We have an interesting guest on the show for you guys tonight, the leader of the Freedom Party of British Columbia. His name is Amrit Birring. And we briefly, Amrit and I had a discussion before showtime tonight, and he is filled with some very interesting ideas that I think that you're going to find extremely tantalizing and probably mostly agree with. Now, some of us are stuck in ideological ruts. We believe, some, that we can vote our way out of a certain situation. And I'm not sure that that's a possibility, depending on how badly captured any one political party is. And there's some people down in the United States who are saying even Donald Trump is captured by whoever is running the show. We're going to have a very, very, very interesting discussion tonight. In just a couple of minutes, you guys hang in. Shadoe at Night live stream. Russ is watching tonight from Archie Way Camp in Alberta on X. Hello, Russ. How are you? Angela's watching tonight. Lorangel is watching in Crossfield. Angela, Debbie is in Kipling, Saskatchewan. Angela's in Toronto. Hello, Cheryl. Hello, Carla. Linda. Sherry is watching in Winnipeg. By the way, the Sean Feucht concert scheduled for Winnipeg at City Park on August 20th has been canceled because the city decided to pull his permit. So we're working on some kind of alternate arrangement. And I would imagine that all of the large cities he plans to tour in Canada in August will be doing the same thing. Hello, Peter, watching in Lake Country, British Columbia. Barbara's watching tonight from Georgetown, Ontario. Barb, Regina, Wanda, Iris, Monica in Lorette. Sandra's watching in Cudworth. Wherever you guys happen to be watching tonight, please like and share. Let's get this show out to as many people as we possibly can. Before we bring Amrit on tonight, I want you guys to listen to this clip. It's about 25, maybe 30 seconds long. It's Stephen Harper talking to a crowd on a panel. This was after news had come out that Mark Carney and his cabinet and some of his advisors had called Stephen Harper for advice on how to deal with Donald Trump in terms of making a deal. And here's what Harper, listen to the things that Harper had to say. Watch.
My advice was, yes, on the economy, we've got to kind of get something short-term worked out with the Trump administration, but this really is a wake-up call for this country to truly diversify its trade export markets.
And Harper shared that he was approached by Carney's team 2 weeks ago. He says Washington is using a failed economic policy of pursuing growth through tariffs. The former PM is urging Ottawa to continue finding new trading partners. And he says Canada should no longer rely on the U.S. for its security.
Canada should no longer rely. Well, who are we going to rely on? If we can't rely on the U.S. for our security, are we supposed to handle it ourselves? Are we supposed to somehow magically turn our military from 60,000 members? And that's what it is, or was, at its capacity a few years ago. I think maybe 100,000 with reserves. It's somewhere down in the 30s right now. And the morale in our military is absolutely shot. And that started happening the second they started putting tampons in the men's room and allowing the trans identifiers to wear their hair long and wear makeup during drills. And we're supposed to deal with our own protection ourselves? Oh, I know. We go ask Europe. That's what Stephen Harper thinks. Does that closely align with what Mark Carney thinks as well? I think it does. Are they working together? It's very interesting. Who controls the Conservative Party of Canada? Is it Pierre Poilievre? Or is it somebody else? Many people think it's Stephen Harper. We're going to come back with Amrit Birring, the leader of the Freedom Party of British Columbia, in 30 seconds. on the screen here. There I am. There is a ghost in the machine tonight. I can't figure it out, but I want to welcome you to the show, Amrit. Thank you for coming on tonight. It's been too long. I think we first talked about a year ago, but I'm happy to finally have you on. Tell us, before we begin, please, about the Freedom Party of British Columbia.
Freedom Party is, we have a platform which talks about people should have full rights on everything. Government should be out of the way. It should be smallest. They should not interfere in the family, like teaching children to rat on their parents. We want to remove Soji 123 from schools and the LGBTQ propaganda. We want to empower children. We want the children to work harder in schools, because we have a shortage of all kind of professionals in Canada. It's the reason is our schooling system is getting woke and diluted over time. So that's essence of whole lot of our problems. We support full firearm rights for Canadians and British Columbians, right to self-defend. These are our basic policies. And I consider myself a social activist come political activist, and the political party is just to support that. So that's not the end goal in itself.
Have you been able to, I'm sorry to interrupt you, have you been able to build up a following that's substantial in the last few months?
Yes, we have social media, both my individual accounts and party's account. We have half decent following. In fact, in provincial elections, we had 5 candidates, MLA candidates, which makes us 4th largest party in BC. There are 16 registered parties, but after BC NDP, Conservative, and Green Party, we are the 4th largest, even though it was our first time in participating in elections. And if we grow our following because of our ideas, convictions, and morals, I hope that we will grow in numbers.
Okay, we have to talk about that video that you put out last week on Instagram. That's what caught my attention. I gotta get this guy on. I think we almost hooked up last year, but it didn't happen. So here we are tonight. You claim that Pierre Poilievre lost his riding of Ottawa-Carlton intentionally, and possibly the entire election. Can you please explain your rationale behind that statement?
I constantly analyze what's happening in Canada, and a lot of things, they just don't make any sense. Even the half dumb person wouldn't do things that our government does. And you can believe that if they have smartness to hang on to power by hook or crook, they have some thinking and brain. So it is just hard to explain. And the chart that I sent you, how the political parties are organized. So unless we see this chart, we just can't explain, because as per this chart, the political parties are just assets, and they are the middle level, third level. But most of people think that they are at topmost level, and they have their independent minds, and whatever policies they implement, it comes from them. But that's not true, because if our political parties, and that's on both sides of aisle, both liberal and conservative, if they were truly working just for people, we would not be where we are. Even by dumb luck, they should get half the policies right, even just randomly, if they just pick anything. But we can see that every single policy is bad. And when people make noise, government refuses to change their policy. In a democracy, the government should have fear of people, that if people are not happy, or if they are being harmed because of government policies, they might lose next election. So just because of that, they need to listen to people. But as we have seen, they absolutely refuse to listen to people. So this chart puts that in perspective, that all the policies come from their elites who fund them, and parties they can survive without voters, but they cannot survive with political funding. And as we know, the parties typically spend hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign. Any party who does not have money, it will fold overnight. There's a reason we have a two-party system, because that's where the big money is. Other than that, you can do as much as public good. You can be big influencer, public influencer, trusted person, but you try running as an independent and you will have no chance. Anyone can try it. Any MLA MP who is currently in government, I challenge any of them, try running independent in next election from the same riding they have been winning, and they will not get more than 1,000 votes.
Isn't that interesting that, you'd think name power would have something? I think it maybe happened once. Jody Wilson-Raybould, when she ran as an independent after leaving the Liberal Party, won her seat.
So yeah,
but-
so they're very exceptions, and that too if she immediately ran after a big public sympathy. But if she runs the following election, the whole thing would have subsided, and she won't be able to win after that. So there are rare cases.
So let's go through this power structure of the real world, and this is something that you put together. At the top, obviously, the power elite oligarchy, invisible deep state that owns most of the world's wealth and hence controls the world. Would you suggest that this is a gang of oligarchs? Are they all aligned on the same ideology, or are they competing, or some of them together and some not? How would you illustrate the power elite oligarchy?
Yeah, we will never know the complete details, but if you just observe, they are the people who own the wealth not from 100 years but thousands of years. For example, the crown in England, there are Rothschilds, there are JP Morgans, there are other business houses, there's a BlackRock, the Vanguard, their owners. They're mostly in America and Western Europe, that we know. So they have been carrying generational wealth from centuries to century, and they need to safeguard that. Let me give an example. When the bad times come, any government would try to confiscate that wealth and say, no one needs that much wealth, just let's confiscate it. So nothing is stopping from governments doing that. And if one government does that, the other country will definitely copy. It's easy way out. So these people, if I were them, to secure my assets, I will control the government. I will make sure who comes in the government, and only those people come in the government, only that party forms the government who I can control. And the way to control is by funding them, because if parties funding dries up, parties fold. One example is in BC election recently, the BC Liberal Party, who has been around for a long time, who changed the name to BC United. The big powers decided to have them fold or merge with BC Conservative, which was their new hero. And when their leader refused, Kevin Falcon, they made sure that their funding is cut off. And within a week, that party declared bankruptcy. Something that has been around multiple decades, have formed governments in BC. It took it only 1 week to fold, and the party dissolved. So that's the power this oligarchs have, and political parties know this because the money is coming from there. They say it, so they bow to them. They can get by annoying the voters, because they know if voters get pissed off, they can vote them out. But after 4 or 8 years, they will come back, because the other party will have pissed off voters too. It's the same blueprint. So they know they will come back. So they can afford to fool voters. Okay, the issue is, who is this oligarchy? There's a lot of bankers, international bankers. There's a common idea that all wars are bankers' wars. They fund the wars, and they can have wars at their will. Historical events like Pearl Harbor, USS Liberty, 9/11, and even October 7, they all have been orchestrated. This is how the world is controlled. There's a saying that when all else fails, they take you to war. And that happens every 80, 100 years like a clockwork. And that's how they reset the currency, reset the debts, and define a new power structure. And interestingly, we are in that period now where US will not be superpower anymore. Their currency will not be reserve currency. So before anarchy happens, these oligarchs want to change the shape of the world, suiting them, and that describes why COVID came, why vaccine passports were implemented to give us a taste of control, why there's a SOGI LGBTQ things to pussify Canadians, why there's a propaganda of climate change to tax the hell out of us. So these things they're all interconnected. And the wars that happen in the Middle East and Ukraine, potential China, Taiwan, right now there's a Thailand and Cambodia, something is going on. So these are all the dots, and it's engineered by these elites. Now you're saying it's one power or not. My analysis said that there are some competing forces there. So
I
when
tend to agree with that,
yeah,
and you know, I kind of wonder who they are. I've got two of them down. I know
okay.
there's more, but I'm not exactly sure who they are or where they come from. Donald Trump, what's your take on him? A lot of
So
people think that he's the savior, but many people think that he's just ushering in the new world order in a different way.
so I don't know what's the rule on your show about Jewish power, talking about them, but America is controlled by Jewish power. There's some kind of nexus between Israel, CIA, Mossad, and I don't know who controls who, whether US insurrected Israel for doing their dirty work or Israel controls US. But it's known that via APAC, both sides of aisles in US are controlled by Jewish lobby. That's why when any war happens in the Middle East, the both parties vote yes overwhelmingly. Via Jeffrey Epstein's, there are blackmail operations. That's how they control US Congress. And they let uh, it's not that Trump was planted by them. I mean, just to mention, JFK is the only one who went against them, and they did to him what they did. And right now in US, Tucker Carlson and Candace Owen are the only two people who speak against them. We don't know their control opposition or not, but apparently they are the only one. Anyone else who spoke, like Kanye West or anyone, they destroyed them. Um, we also have to know that the chiefs of all governments, whether it's CDC, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's banking, whether it's porn website, whether it's social media organization, they are all Jewish. Even NBA and NHL, their owners are Jewish. So we know that
Let me
US is,
interject for 1 second, Amrit. I have to say that for the algorithm, this is for entertainment purposes only. Please continue.
yeah, thanks.
I
So,
find this all very fascinating. Love it.
so US is through and through controlled by them. Um, so when Trump came in 2016, first time, one year before filing his papers, he started bashing Israel. No, sorry, Iran. He started bashing Iran. At that point, there was no war. It was absolutely um, calm. So I'm thinking why he's bashing them. That's because his backers who fund him, they uh, they make them say thing as a proof of loyalty that you are under our control. So I knew that he at that point he is under Jewish control, and that's where all the money comes from. And as we know, his own son-in-law was Jewish, and even though Steve Bannon was his chief architect of his campaign and he made him one on US nationalism, but as soon as Trump won, within months, Steve Bannon was booted out and Jared Kushner took over. So these things are not coincidences. And during these 4 years, Trump was not allowed to do anything. Um, he was so the elite could not stop him from getting elected, uh, even though one night before election, the all the polls were showing Hillary Clinton has 90% chance to win, but still Trump pulled it off. So it was unexpected. They were not prepared. Otherwise, they would have done what they did in 2020 already. So he won. So the next thing is how to control him so he's ineffective. And they did whatever they need to do, double impeachment. And look at their control. When COVID came, Trump said, you can take quinine and ivermectin. He made those statements, there are treatments.
Yep.
But then he took a U-turn and he himself promoted the vaccine. And 1 year after COVID, he announced that he took the vaccine. So why do the people change? By the way, CDC's head, the lady, is also Jewish, and most of the top-ranking people. So Trump is definitely under their control. Now they give him some freedom to tackle the smaller issues, to give the facade, but when it's big issues, he's taken behind the barn and he has no choice.
So let me ask you, what are the smaller issues? Are we talking about LGBTQ and immigration, and the larger issues being the wars in the economy?
Even immigration is kind of big issue. Smaller issues are ending the gender affirming surgeries, taking funding from states that government will not do it, and in schools they will not do this propaganda. These are small things. For instance, Jeffrey Epstein was big thing, but then since in his diary there are all the congresses there, all the businessmen who is in there, and that's how CIA Mossad controls US. So there was zero chance. I'm saying from the beginning, there's a zero chance that anything will happen on that. So when Trump took Kash Patel, Don Bongino, Tulsi Gabbard, they made it look like that they are going after Jeffrey Epstein. But that they did because that was the public sentiment. So they captured that sentiment to get elected. Or rather his handlers, it was all his handlers' plan, is none of his. But once they get elected, they know how to slowly, step by step, uh, handle public emotion. So key is how to handle public emotion. So when people were expecting Trump Epstein's diary, Pam Bondi said, "Oh, it's sitting on my table. There's a lot of stuff in there," just to keep people hope. And the technique is give them hope, then lower it, and then dissipate it. And they did it like a blueprint, and I can see it. Kash Patel, who was supposed to be a strict guy, and that's why he was brought in. By the way, Kash Patel has a very young, attractive girlfriend, and it happens that she is a Jewish girl. Okay, just happens. For instance,
Wasn't she
she,
also Mossad?
yeah, they won't publicly say that, but if she is just like Jeffrey Epstein, she would be. I don't think they will make it public, but
That's
it's a fair
something I heard.
speculation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you saw the interview, obviously, where Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were sitting there, and they were saying, "No, you know what? Nothing to see here. It was a suicide." And the look on Dan Bongino's face, to me, it appeared that somebody was just off screen holding a gun to his head. He looked terrified and sweating. And, because that went against everything that he had said on his show for 3 or 4 years leading up to that moment. How can you change like that publicly? How can you do that and hold any credibility?
So only way to explain is this chart that we have, that these people are just assets. Don Bongino and Kash Patel, they are just assets.
We haven't
And
we haven't done the handlers. Let's do the handlers and then the assets, if you don't mind.
yeah, sure. So these elites who are rich people, like Charles Schwab of WEF,
Yeah.
Bill Gates,
Larry Fink, those guys.
yeah, Larry Fink, the BlackRock CEO. So these people are not going to talk to these politicians day to day, right? So they are intermediates, people representing them, and very often they are part of the party. They hold some position wherever they can constantly monitor the politicians, keep an eye on them, remind them, stay online. So those are the handlers, and sometimes handlers are in plain sight actually. Um, Trump's chief of staff is a lady. She is his handler. Um,
You know what's interesting is people never notice that, right? Like when you see a photo or a video of somebody like Trump or Bongino or Kash Patel or Tulsi Gabbard, any of these folks talking, there's always people standing behind them all the time. And it's probably some of these people, the handlers that you're talking about right here, who are standing there making sure they say the right things.
Exactly. And people don't notice because people don't know this chart. They think the top level is political parties. So they never think that someone is actually putting gun to their head. For that matter, Pierre Poilievre has a handler too. It's a Melissa Landsman. You can see that. You can observe going forward.
That's very interesting that you would say that. Melissa Landsman. Okay, I want to get in. I'm going to write that down and so we can come back to that. But anyway, please carry on.
Yeah, and what's the proof that these people are controlled? When someone talks about anti-Semitism, when we have a whole lot of problems in the world, but the only thing they talk about anti-Semitism, that's mean they are controlled, and they are made to say that's part of their funding and condition and propping them up. And both Pierre Poilievre and Melissa Landsman never miss a chance to mention anti-Semitism, and that they have plans to bring in laws if they had gotten elected. Okay, so coming to handlers, those if you know this power structure and you start paying attention, you will start to seeing things who are the handlers. In Trump's case, in his 2016 era, Jared Kushner was his handler, his own son-in-law. He would always, people would go through him. Anything has to be done had to go through him, and he will just whisper in Trump's ears always. But then, because of MAGA movement, they had to remove him in his second term. And in his second term, her chief of staff is a woman. She represents deep state, and she appoints anyone who works for Trump. So she is the lady. By the way, there's a lady called Miriam Adelson, who is Jewish AIPAC representative, and she injected $100 million in Trump's campaign. So it's all open.
They all have handlers, all of them. All the senators, all the Congress people, anybody to do with governors, they've all got handlers.
Yes, and there's a one senator in Trump's party. I don't remember his name. I don't know if he was killed or what happened, or he's still around. He made the statement that via AIPAC, every senator and congressman or woman, they have one person assigned to them from AIPAC. And he had a huge backlash, but he's the acting senator, and he did make that statement.
Wow. By the way, you guys, people are asking, Amrit, who's your guest? You haven't had him on before. It's Amrit Birring. He is the leader of the Freedom Party of British Columbia. He's a political activist. He is a freedom fighter in BC. And I want to thank you for coming on tonight. This has been a great conversation so far. We're only just getting started here. So we're talking about the handlers. We've already ascertained that every single politician has got a handler. What are the assets? You say political party leaders, MPs, MLAs, just actors getting the funding and instructions via the handlers and serving the oligarchy. So those are the assets.
Yeah, so what we see in front, Justin Trudeau was literally a drama teacher, but pun not intended, they all are actors, whether they're trained or not. When you come on early on in the politics, you learn how to lie. You learn how to, whatever your party says, you keep parroting that out. And when the voters ask you questions, how you give it a spin. So they are taught that art of acting and manipulation. So they all end up getting actor. I mean, if someone is lying you when this elephant is standing next to you, the truth, and they still lie you, that means they are actors. And
my God.
The way our politics goes here, democracy, it's an open mockery. If you think about it, democracy means your local MP represents you. On paper, the person reflects your will in the parliament. That's what is the rule. That's what is the democracy.
It's supposed to be, yeah.
But But in reality, uh, talk about liberal government. Whenever they present a bill, there is never a dissent. Every MP has to vote yes on it or no, whatever the party directs, which means it's a top down. They vote as per the orders. It has nothing to do with people. People can bang their head on the wall, shout, write them emails, nothing. It does not matter. And so this is an open mockery of democracy, open mockery right in front of your eyes. Every MP or MLA has an office in your riding. So I have a solution for that. But before that, these MP MLAs, they just listen to their party. The reason is they get elected because party has a wave. And I would say that if a party has a wave and on certain riding, even if you put a donkey, people will vote for donkey. So that tells you it has nothing to do with person. Unless you're a criminal and you have a very special case, as long as you put up some face and party has a wave, you win. That's it. And they all know it. And since they all know that they don't have their individual personality, so they cannot go against party, which is farce, but that's the reality. That's how they're controlled.
I would assert that you're missing something in the asset section here, Amrit, and that would be, you say political party leaders, and I agree with that totally. MPs, MLAs, just actors. But what about actual actors? What about all of these artists in Hollywood and in Toronto here in Canada, and singers and media, especially the left-wing corporate media? These are all just actors as well, aren't they? They're going on television nightly and they're telling the people what they're told to say.
Exactly. So they don't directly decide our fate as the government does by making policies and enforcing via policing and judiciary. So that's the distinguishing factor. But the oligarchs own Hollywood, they own banking, they own pharma companies, they own porn websites, they own all the social media companies. So anything that can ever remotely influence people's behavior, they own it. So Hollywood is it's one of their big assets. How do you think the women who used to cover their bodies, uh, step by step, now the nakedness is the norm? How do you think people had one marriage and now there are divorces, multiple? It comes from Hollywood. People people follow Hollywood, and those whatever behavior they are having, the actresses, people emulate them. And if oligarchs control them and the culture there, it permeates to the society step by step, and it's happening in front of our eyes. Not only they influence on US or Canadian culture, they influence worldwide. uh, in India, there's a film city is called Bollywood.
Yeah.
It's even name its name was Bombay initially, but they call it Bollywood after Hollywood. And by the way, India makes most movies per year in the world, and then China, and then Hollywood. And Europe is pretty much missing in action. They pretty much watch Hollywood movies.
Mm-hmm.
So India also, it was conservative. It's their city culture is, it's pretty much, it's 10-year delay, but it's same follows blueprint from the Hollywood. So it, except some Muslim countries, it just goes everywhere. So yes, you control that culture, and then they control individual directors, actors. So they do their bidding. Whatever they want people to believe, they will say that. During COVID, they were used to encourage people to take vaccination. And for some reason, all the big actors, their child are coming out to be transgender. That's a new phenomena.
Yeah. What is that all about, in your opinion? This is something that's a little off topic because we're moving off the chart here. But why would the oligarchs feel as though they have to bring in this whole transgender thing? I don't understand Is it just for their own personal entertainment, do you think?
Okay, no, it's not entertainment. It's much dangerous than that.
No, I know it's
Okay.
dangerous for the people, but what I'm saying is, like, for the oligarchs who are, raining down all the rules on the handlers and the assets and whatnot, like, why would they bring that in? Like,
Okay, because one of their aim is weaken the society, because strong people can fight back, weak people do not. So how you can weaken the people? First, you take them away from religion, which gives them strength, so that their only religion is political parties, and then you break the families, and we have seen via Hollywood and other means families have been broken. And then you promote nuclear family, where you are supposed to send your parents to old people home. um, okay, then after doing all this, now they are after individual person. An individual person, the strength comes from being you. There's something called ego. Ego has it's used negatively, but ego really means who you are. I took a psychology course once, and the whole course was which part of body is you. If you chop your arms, are you still you? Probably yes, with arms too. Do we chop your head? Are you your torso, or are you head? So what is being you? So this is a important thing. What is your self being? So they want to remove that. That's the last piece of puzzle. For instance, when a child is born, it's important to know it's a boy or girl. It's a basic to human beings or animals too. Most of animals are is the sexual animals, so it applies on everyone. So now they want to take that little thing out of you, that you are gender fluid. So you disempower you so much that you are just zombies. So this transgender thing is a part of that. Remove the concept of he and she, male and female. And as you know, all these social media companies, they are removing the word he and she everywhere. Is switched by they, them. So it's not for fun. It's to disempower you as an individual. And and what best way is to have pride flags everywhere, glorify, have their parades, and naked parades they have, um, and promote it everywhere, and then have Hollywood actors transgender so that people think it's cool. So
yeah,
I think that's what's going on.
that's a very, very good answer. The true believers, these are the useful idiots who genuinely trust one political party and oppose the other political party. Well, there's a lot of them out there. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
so the Liberal Party is in power in federal government, so their followers are there, but it's the conservative followers who very genuinely believe that if Poilievre had come, all their misery will go away, and it's like a religion dogma for them. They really, really, really believe. But when you because in your weakness you want a hope, so this is their hope. But but if logically you think, before liberal there was conservative, and Canada is, it's not going down just 9 years, it's decades. When now Stephen Harper says we should diversify our economy, it's a fundamental principle. It's a basic principle of economy. It should not have taken Trump to call us 51st state to have us talk about basic things, that
Yep.
we need to have pipelines, we need to remove trade barriers among the provinces. I mean, that's a basic thing. The world is moving on. You need to develop your economy and use your strengths. The reason they refuse to do that and now pretend that it's a new information, that's how they're pretending that it's a new discovery, that you have to develop your economy, you have to do manufacturing, you have to make use of your resources in the ground. So it's so pathetic. And those people who never had guts and courage to see this basic fact and work on it in last 4 decades, even now when they pretend to doing it, do they even know how to do it? Are they even committed, or are they still giving lip service just to bid their time? So this is mind boggling.
It is, because you're right. These are all basic principles that, I mean, it's like economics, the first page of the book, diversify your economy. And you've got a guy who was the governor of the Bank of England, the Bank of Canada, calling Stephen Harper for advice on how to handle Donald Trump and the things he needs to do. But what I found alarming in that clip I played off the beginning of the show was Stephen Harper saying all the things Mark Carney has already said publicly, and he was saying during the campaign. And that was my way, Amrit, of illustrating the fact that we're dealing with a uniparty here, which, and by the way, the bottom in green, they're prisoners of the cave. You guys can't see it. It's the common people who don't know much, which I would suggest are probably the vast majority. So we're dealing with a uniparty here. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so this, I am still very perplexed at something. Maybe you can throw some light. So we know that after sick and tired of Trudeau, people wanted to boot his party out. In fact, during Erin O'Toole time, people were pissed off, and Erin O'Toole found a way to lose. But this time they had even more momentum and 80% guaranteed seats. They still found a way to lose. Okay, now Carney, we know he's not from within their party. He was brought from outside. They did not have any leader within the party. That's because party is controlled by higher powers, and they will decide. Party MPs will not decide who their leader is. Their handlers and upper power will decide, and they decided for Carney. So here's my confusion. You can imagine that Carney was Bank of Canada's governor, then Bank of England, and by the way, before that he was from Goldman Sachs. It's a Jewish banker. It was very popular until 2007, 2008 housing market crash, which they engineered. And after that, they are laying low a little bit, and JP Morgan is the biggest bank. So that's all part and parcel of their plan. So this Goldman Sachs bank, the US federal bank, every single governor of US federal bank has been an ex-Goldman chairman. Except Powell, except current US Fed governor, every US Fed governor has been ex-Goldman Sachs chairman. You can go and verify. Okay, so that's the Jewish power. And this Mark Carney is also Goldman Sachs employee, and via that he was posted in New York, London, Tokyo. So he is their guy. And it's only because of those credentials he was made the Bank of Canada governor.
Hang on just a second here. Do we have the same structure? Let me just put this back up on the screen here. Do we have the same structure that they have in the United States? We talk about the power elite oligarchy. We talk about the handlers. Do all the MPs and cabinet members in our country and premiers, do they all have handlers, assets as well? Like, is it the same? Are we controlled by the oligarchs or controlled by Israelis?
I think we have a similar structure, except that we had heavy influence of CCP here. So I know they control NDP. BC is totally under their control.
China, you mean?
China, yeah.
Okay, communist China.
And I believe the part of reason Trump is so pissed off is because his backers are Jewish, and I believe that's their global power struggle. And Trump, via Conservative Party, they want to bring their control. And Liberal and NDP, they were backed by CCP a lot. So now my confusion, which I was going to mention, that Carney is from Bank of Canada, he moved to Bank of England's governor. By the way, it's unprecedented that a country will make its federal bank's governor bring an outsider. It's unprecedented. It doesn't happen. And if you think about it, it should not happen because it's the most crucial and critical job to control the banking and money. Why would someone bring from outside? So this thing is very strange to begin with. Why they offer Carney that job? Okay, and
he's their fair-haired boy, Amrit. He's, for some reason, Mark Carney is their guy.
Yeah, something is very special. I concluded since Mark Carney is from Goldman Sachs and London banking is also controlled by Rothschild. So it's something to do with that. So sure, they took him, and after that he finished his stint and he got unpopular towards the end. Um, so he became United Nations czar for climate change.
Yeah.
Okay, so this proves that he has Rothschild Jewish backing. But then so was Poilievre. Conservative Party is backed by them. So I am perplexed why they suddenly replace Poilievre with Carney, these big players.
So
Uh,
you're saying that Poilievre was the choice of the oligarchs of the cabal up top, and then they decided to move Carney in.
that's right.
Okay.
Especially Poilievre, he's backed by Jewish power. He always talks about anti-Semitism. It's clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have his
And his
pictures.
handler is Melissa Lantsman. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
So he was there, but I believe because of changing world, they thought he's not as capable. He's just a boy. He won't be as sophisticated con man as Carney will be.
Or maybe he's not as controllable.
That I am not sure, because why wouldn't he be controllable? If we think about his achievements, he in high school he started working in an MP's office, um, and then I think he finished his degree a long time after, part time.
Yeah.
And then he became.
He's been part of the machine for 20 years or more. So you're right.
He became MP at 25 and now he's 45. He has been MP for 20 years, and he was never a minister. He was lackluster. No one really knew him for until he started giving some speeches in Parliament against Trudeau that excited people, and I believe that was the deep state was propping him, building his image by those speeches. And as part of that, he got rid of his glasses to look masculine. He started wearing tight shirts, t-shirts. And I'm not sure if he goes to gym, but definitely they inject something in his biceps. You can tell that. so he's being propped up. And when you have this kind of person, why would he not be controllable? Only thing is he's not as sophisticated person. I think that's the only thing. And Mark Carney is a sophisticated. He has dealt with a lot of international, so he can be a better con man. Let's settle with this. He will be more legitimate con man, and he has existing connection in Europe and US. So whatever agenda they want him to carry out, it will be much less talking. He's just ready for it already.
You know, it's interesting you say this. So how do you think this all went down? At the end of December, maybe some of the oligarchs went and knocked on Poilievre's door and they said, look, we got some bad news for you, Pierre. We're bringing Mark Carney in. He's going to be our guy. You were going to be our guy, but we just don't think you've got enough connections. You're not quite seasoned enough for the job. So we're going to have him win the Liberal leadership and then the election. Do you think it was something that simple?
Let me just give you an example. During COVID, the Alberta and Saskatchewan premiers were not buying into all the COVID restrictions. This is against the laws. And then something happened in one night. Next day, they both flipped and they were all with it. So I still don't know what mechanism deep state uses. I mean, they do take you behind the barn, they put gun to your head, proverbial gun, but what mechanism they use, how they show you stick and carrot, whether they show you that in a blink of an eye your family will be wiped out, then what good is for you the politics? So those details I'm not privy to. We can only guess.
Well, you're right. It's probably different for everybody depending on what they have on that person, right? Like if they have some tapes, or if they have a family, or if they can wipe out their bank account, or whatever it is that they've got that they value the most, the cabal knows what it is and they'll threaten to take that thing away.
Yeah, and it's always a stick and carrot. You offer them, you ask them that you are done, but here is your incentive so that it's sustainable. And we don't know what mechanism was used against him. And and we don't know how the votes are counted. Everything is under question mark. Uh, Let me give you an example. I went to in BC in Langley. Pierre Poilievre had a rally, and I went there, and people came in droves and droves and droves, genuine people. And I went to a Mark Carney's rally, which happened in Richmond, BC, and I did not see any local people coming there. I saw people coming in buses brought from somewhere. So, so there was big money working for him. Top influential people must have been contacted, and who knows what else they did, but they did something, and and that turned it. And we don't know if it's a genuine tide turned or not, but they made it look like out of voting this is what happened. But we don't know their real mechanism, full mechanism, unless we are behind the
Well, we can
scenes.
talk about possible influencing of the pollsters in the country. I mean, I've never seen anything like we saw at the beginning of January. Trudeau steps down. Carney is not even elected Liberal leader yet. The Conservatives start losing ground in the polls. The Liberals start gaining ground. And within a month, they were tied. And then the Liberals took the lead in the polls. And I just thought that was a 30-point lead that the Conservative. I've never seen anything like that.
This is unprecedented. Even either the people are so fickle minded. I don't think the public opinion, it takes time to change. It cannot change in 1 month. Now, speaking about polling, I know something about polling. I've taken statistics courses, how the pollings are done. So polling, what happens is, let's say a riding has 100,000 people. You generally poll 100 people, and based upon that, you extrapolate and make your conclusion. You can pick those people from which section of that riding, which age group. You can pick. It's up to you, and you can show the desired outcome. So polling companies are supposed to be independent. All you need to do is hire them, pay them money, and give them criteria, and they will independently poll. But then we know independent is not really independent, and
Yeah.
so it's they can be influenced to show certain result, and then slowly show that momentum is building up to just brainwash people that this is what's happening, so you better go along. So this polling is, but yeah, they, when they wanted to turn the tide, they must have done multi-pronged operation. They would have sat down, and polling to influence people is just one part of it, which we see clearly. And I'm pretty sure for each one apparent things, there must be 10 things behind the scenes they did, and we don't know what advanced technique they use, these globalists, but it's something unprecedented in history.
Amrit, we're losing you. No, this is a good conversation. We can't have it end just yet. If you can still hear me, Amrit, can you go out and then come back in? There you are. Okay. Excellent.
Did I lose my internet?
Yeah, I don't know if you lost your internet, but we lost your last 20 seconds. So go back 20 seconds ago and please restart.
Yeah. And by the way, my internet is also throttled. I'm pretty sure something is done to my internet connection.
Yeah, I've had that happen too. Yeah, I get it.
And recently my Facebook account was suspended for 13 days. And only when we declared, by the way, that popular video we are talking about, that resulted, it got 500,000 views now and 52,000 likes.
Yeah.
On federal government's nexus with Facebook, they suspended my account saying there's a cybersecurity issue. And then we went to their office to protest. We announced on Facebook from my friend's account. And before that protest, one evening before, miraculously, account is back up with no explanation, nothing.
Wow. If you guys want to follow Amrit, just spell his name. It's right at the bottom of the screen. You can see it right now. Go and follow him on Instagram and all of the social medias. Go find him and follow him. He's putting out some very, very interesting videos. Why did Pierre Poilievre lose his own riding? Was that intentional? Your contention is that it was intentional, but was that more of a punishment for him from the oligarchs, from the cabal, to let him know that he's under their thumb?
I would believe the real reason is they wanted to, let's say they wanted to defeat Conservative Party. So Mark Carney, their choice guy, becomes prime minister. But they also had to discourage his followers. So there is a lesser outrage. Once you lose, there's a lesser outrage. How do you depress them? You defeat their leader. Now they will be shocked and they will be talking about Pierre Poilievre losing more than their party losing. And that can go on for 6 months. By that time, you mellow their emotions. I think that's why they decided just make the leader lose.
And now they're doing it again, right? They're trying to do it with this longest ballot committee in the Battle River Crowfoot riding, where they're having the by-election in a couple of weeks.
I think that's another trick. Whether it's 200 people or 1,000, it should not impact who will win, because it impacts both candidates. Only thing I would say, sometimes what they do is they put a candidate, let's say, whose last name is same as Poilievre. I mean, they can find a person or very similar name. Then I can understand it that some people get confused, whatever first they encounter. By the way, the ballot paper is sorted by last name. So it's not hard to find. His last name is Poilievre P. So when you look from top, you can come to P. So it's not hard to find. It's not random. And even in Carlton, where he lost, I double checked the Liberal candidate's last name. I don't remember now, but he was not ahead of Pierre Poilievre P. He was behind it. I might be wrong, but that's not my perception is. So finding name is not hard. Now I would say if they say there are 200 people registered this time, then the Pierre Poilievre's fans, his followers, should be even more pumped up and even more determined to make him win. So more of them should come. It actually will go in his benefit. So that's
well, they
no
changed
point.
the ballot now again yesterday. Now you have to write in the name of the candidate you want to win with the political party. Now you can have just the name, but you can't have just the political party. And you don't have to spell it exactly right, but the Elections Canada people need to know what your intention was with your vote.
So
is that going to make it worse or better?
So that's unprecedented too. Normally in mail-in voting, you have to write the name because there is no ballot paper. So in mail-in voting, you have to write the name. Are you sure that they did it for regular voting day? Because
Yep.
That will create huge confusion, because now they are saying it can be similar name. Who will decide how similar is it?
It's all arbitrary, right? I mean, like Elections Canada guy can go, oh, look at that. Is it Paul Peterson or Pierre Poilievre that this guy's voting for? I can't tell. And the name of the party is scribbled. I can't tell. Scratch.
Yeah, it's. I mean, voting the right and wrong. It's exactly to prevent those confusions. And I don't know how. I have to double check they introduced this, but that's putting another uncertainty in there.
So let me ask you this. If Poilievre loses this by-election, how crushing would that be for not just the Conservative Party, but all the people who support the Conservative Party across the country?
I hope people don't commit suicide, but it that serious, because then they will have no hope. Normally, it should not happen. Normally, within party, there should be multiple contender for leadership and someone should take up. But the way these globalists have set up, they just pick one person and everything centers around that person. So when that person is gone, the party becomes orphan. So if he loses, the party will be orphan. And for
there's I'm sorry to interrupt you. There's something that just came to my mind, and people have been talking about Doug Ford for a while, and it might be that they've set this by-election up for Poilievre to fail, at that point, he would have to resign as the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, and they would have to have a leadership convention in 6 months' time. And Doug Ford, at least Doug Ford's people, have been making noise that he would be a great leader for the Conservative Party of Canada. And we know that he had Mark Carney at his cottage in the Kawarthas last week when they had that first ministers meeting. I mean, could they make it any more obvious that it's a uniparty?
Exactly. And another perplexing thing, when Pierre Poilievre decided to run in Alberta and they had the guy resign, the Liberal Party, when a seat goes vacant, I think they have 6 months period before they declare elections. There's a window, and they declare when it suits them. So technically, a Liberal Party could have declared that on the last day of 6 months, and then it will take another 6-month process. But Mark Carney made a statement that he will be good sportsman and he will not delay it, and he declared it at the earliest opportunity. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. You are political rivals. In order for you to rule and carry out your agenda, you want to keep other party opposition down as much as you can. And he is not a saint. He's a professional politician, banker, whatever. So him doing that is again very strange thing. And another proof that I think they just wanted to mellow down the people's emotions, give them hope. Okay, put away your anger with whatever they did to him. He's coming back. So just manage their emotions. That's what it is.
It's you've actually opened my eyes a little bit more. You made me see some things just using sheer logic. But you'd mentioned in the video, your Instagram video last week, and again, you guys go ahead and follow Amrit here on Instagram or whatever social media platform. He puts out some really good stuff. You said that he lost intentionally because he knew that they had expanded that riding and there was a lot more liberal voters coming into it. And yet he didn't spend any time in his riding. I guess he was, drumming up support for the party nationwide with those rallies that he was doing. But, why would he allow this to happen?
So in addition to that, we will also address why he could be stupid. That's a smaller possibility. But let's say why he would lose. Assuming we have deep state who decided, okay, we are going with Carney, so end this charade, and they took him behind the barn and he agreed. At this point, they have to also make people believe that whatever happens is normal. So this guy who is winning from Carlton for last 20 years, and this time he is prime ministerial candidate, in fact almost given. So people will have even more enthusiasm in his Carlton riding that their MP will be prime minister. So he should have gotten even more votes. Plus his party has a huge wave. So if they outright make him lose, people will question the integrity of voting. So in order for people not to question that, they had to play some trick. So they redefine the boundary so that if he loses, they say, boundary has been redefined and voter mix has changed. So just give a plausibility so that people are not as angry as they could have been. So because of that, they changed the riding, redefined the riding. Now, when they redefined it, we know Pierre Poilievre knew it, and normally election is a war, and in war, generals are protected. Generals do not go to fight war because if general dies, whole army will be ineffective. There's no direction. In fact, in many countries, a candidate can actually run from multiple seats. That's not in Canada. It's only one seat. And in other countries, when that happens, the leaders are made to run from at least 2 secure seats just to hedge their bets. So Conservative Party cannot be so naive that the leaders' boundary is redefined, and they knew the new mixture of people because they know the demographics of new areas brought in. So they study that, and voters list is also given to parties. So they knew everything, And you cannot believe that it slipped through the cracks. No, it's not possible. I mean, if it's slipped through the cracks, then how much more stupid whole party and the team, the campaign team, and their research team would be. So I wouldn't assume that. Uh, Only explanation is they could see what happened and they intentionally ignored it because that was the deal. It was just redefined so that they can explain to people, and that 100 people flooding the ballot, it was also part and parcel of this. So people find a reason why he lost and their anger is mellow, and then say, okay, he will go for another election, so their anger is even more mellowed. Constantly keep giving them hope, never delivering but always giving them hope, just like Epstein file. Same thing, just manage their emotions. That's the name of game, by hook or crook, lying, deception, anything. And sometimes they have to move 3 moves to take people where they want them to be, because you cannot change their emotions suddenly. So it's step by step by step. And here we are. So as you are saying, if he loses from Alberta, it's still possible, even though it's a secure seat and their guy just won from there, but they can spin anything and come up with some reason.
What do you think is going to happen? How do you think this is going to play out?
I haven't analyzed that much. I think it's not of much significance. The major job is done. Their party lost, he lost, momentum lost. Even if he wins, he's not gonna get momentum, because I see he still makes some speeches, criticizes Carney on Twitter, but in the comments, I see no enthusiasm from people that used to be before elections.
It certainly calmed down a lot, hasn't it?
That's because you cannot do same thing again and again and keep the momentum. With his first built up the image for 3 4 years, that collapsed. Now people are depressed. That's the human psychology. They have to rebuild and it takes time. And generally in elections, you do not want the same face, because having fresh face is a very important fact as well. Because people's our hopes, aspirations are linked to that face. When that face does not deliver, you don't want to bring that face again. That's the reason when parties lose, they want to change the leader. That's why Trudeau keep changing his looks. Sometimes long hair, short hair, this, that. So, so,
Beard,
thi-
goatee,
so
Katy
this
Perry.
exactly. So this is a thing. So just because of that, it's not a good idea to Pierre Poilievre to keep pushing, because he has lost that image. He positivity he created. Only issue for deep state is they want their own agent there who is charismatic enough as well, but controlled. And it's very hard to find that person, but they will. And those people, they also see what's the current environment, what move to make. um, so it's a question for them too. It's not easy. They have to do a lot of thinking, shenanigans, to get something going as well. And what they pull up, depending upon the situation, time will tell.
Amrit, we didn't even get a chance, and we're running late here. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Alberta sovereignty yet and what might happen in that scenario. But let me ask you this, and I want you to come back in a few weeks if you wouldn't mind, because this has
Sure.
been just a fascinating conversation. I'm loving this conversation. What people are asking, what is the way out of this? Is there a way out of this for Canadians, for actually the Western world?
So there are many players involved, and geopolitics involved. The deep state that controls Canada, and there is a deep state, whether it's a crown or some combination, it's their colony. It's a resource. They make a lot of money. There's a reason we have oligopoly in the banking. They make a lot of money. Who owns them? Anyone's guess. All our resources. So I don't think they will let it break easily, because if one province leaves, it sets the precedent. It's a domino effect. So it's very important for them not to let it happen. Now, Daniela Smith, she has been meeting with Trump, has been to Mar-a-Lago. We don't know uh, who her handlers are, who put her in there. Mind it, she was from Wild Rose Party before, which was disassembled, and she switched to this party. They wouldn't let her win from there, but they would let her win from there. So, without knowing her background, on the surface, she wants to stand up with people for Albertan, traditional Albertan people. And if the deep state who is behind Trump, if she collaborates with them and they want to help her uh, orchestrating 51st state, so that will be a huge force. But then what the other side will do, they have already brought in native already, they're pumping them up that you cannot, without our consent you cannot go. So that's in play already from the other side. And then and then
There's a
there's a
lot, man.
NDP, Alberta NDP, which will be die hard with liberals. So there will be power play, a lot of power play. So time will tell. We cannot predict these things.
So again, I ask, how do we get out of this? Like, we're not going to vote our way out of this, because the second we vote one party out, the other one comes in. They're controlled too.
Oh yeah.
So you've
Yeah.
you've got a political party, but as you pointed out earlier, you're more of an activist than anything. The Freedom Party of British
Yeah.
Columbia, fourth largest party, by the way, provincially in BC. But I mean, what can we do here?
So, okay, the solution is very simple, but it needs effort. The solution is, I always say that let's talk about federal. You have a local MP in your riding, his or her office is there, house is there. He or she, let's say he for this purpose, he walks around people, go to functions, cuts ribbons. You have absolute control of over your MP, not by emailing or writing petitions, but by protesting, by surrounding the MP, going to his riding, his office. You can make your MP's life hell. Only 100 people, if you camp there, go there repeatedly, shame him, show him so much that he cannot show his face in the public. Our thing is, we think system is wrong or Ottawa, but we cannot bang our head against system. We cannot bang our head against Ottawa. You need to control only one person in a riding of 50,000 people, your local MP. But it needs coming out of your houses, learning to do street action. By the way, we have organized 50 rallies in 3 years. And because of our efforts, our BC education minister could not get re-elected from her guaranteed seat because of Soji. Because we pushed. So that is what's needed. We need to take our destiny in our own hands. We need to do street action. We need to not be fearful of getting arrested. This is a one big thing in Canada. People are smug, complacent, they are wealthy. So there's a thing, I do not want a criminal record. So the moment I will be arrested, my career will be ended. And government is milking that big time. When enough people are willing to offer arrest, government cannot arrest. It's called civil disobedience. Now, who will organize it? How government will break it up? We already saw during truckers convoy. This whole thing was done. It was broken, but that's the blueprint. But people need to take care of only one MP and MLA in their city. But that needs dedication. If they persist, they scare the hell out of that person that you are working against our interests, resign. Or tell your party that this is what my constituents want, and be ready to be expelled from your party, because you don't work for your party, you work for us. We pay you salary. If people really feel this power inside them, then the change can be made. And then it would not matter which party MP is that, because the MP has to work for you. Once we have this mindset, we can start making change.
Folks, find this man on social media. Follow him. Amrit, thank you for coming on tonight, and we'll see you again soon. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Shadoe. That's awesome. And my name can be Googled. All our rallies, protests we have done, everything shows up in the results if you just Google my name.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you,
Go
brother.
ahead. All right, man. We'll talk to you again.
Yeah.
There is Amrit Birring, you guys. We have more before the extension starts. So we're going to do that in 30 seconds. Well, guys, I don't know about you, but I found that very exhilarating. What a great conversation, and definitely we will have Amrit back. We got to move through the news real quick. We do have something interesting for you on the extension tonight for you all Access Nighthawk. So let's bring this up on the screen. City denies, this from left-wing corporate CTV, city denies permit for controversial Christian. Again, this is how they do it, right? They call them controversial right in the headline. How is it that going from place to place, spreading the word of Jesus is controversial? Nonetheless, the left-wing corporate media uses that strategy. We pointed that out for you last night. Controversial Christian musician's Winnipeg appearance. This is why I say pay no attention to the left-wing corporate media. If you do, there's a possibility you will be captured. City of Winnipeg has canceled a booking permit for a controversial musician who's had shows canceled throughout Eastern Canada. So you see, they're saying now it's okay to cancel him here because he's been canceled elsewhere. So we're just, following the trend. That's how this story is painted. The city confirmed today it denied a Central Park booking request for a performance by Sean Feucht on August 20th. And that's just fine. That's just fine. Central Park in this city is an absolute dump. It's a toilet. It is a shithole. It's gangland. There's exposed needles there everywhere. You don't want to have, now maybe that's Sean's idea. We're going to go and we're going to save people with the word of Jesus in a place like that. We've got a better place. So I'm in touch with some people who are in touch with some people, and we are working on a larger, superior venue where we can have a real celebration of God and Jesus. So, Sean, if you're watching, or if some of your people are watching, please contact me via messenger, email, shadoedavis@gmail.com, X, wherever. We can set you up because we want you here, my friend. And we know you're going to be canceled in other places too, and we can help arrange alternate venues as well. Alberta's Justice Minister wants Elections Alberta to withdraw a referral to a court to decide a legality of referendum question. So this is Mickey Amory, by the way. Archie Andrews. Mickey Amory, he's the Justice Minister in Alberta. He's asking Elections Alberta to withdraw a referral to a court to decide if a proposed referendum question about independence is allowed under the law. We encourage Elections Alberta to withdraw its court reference and permit Albertans their democratic right to participate in the citizen initiative process, Amory said on X. Response to citizen initiative process, the recently passed amendments to the Citizen Initiative Act are intended to be broadly permissive and to allow Albertans the opportunity to launch a referendum petition without needless bureaucratic red tape or court applications slowing the process. As it is the government of Alberta that ultimately decides how or if to implement any referendum result, those government decisions will ultimately be subject to constitutional scrutiny. Danielle Smith agrees with Emery. She said, also took to X saying the Justice Minister is right about Albertans' right to participate in the citizen initiative process, noting that they shouldn't be slowed down by bureaucratic red tape or court applications in her post. Smith reiterated her belief in a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada, whatever that means. Here's a story from MSN, originally from Business Insider, I think it is. Let's see. Financial Post. Alberta, Saskatchewan finances best among provinces, says the conference board. What a shock. Pressures from the trade war expected to push every Canadian province into fiscal deficit this year, but their fortunes going forward could be radically different, according to a new report released by the Conference Board of Canada today. While all provinces currently face budget shortfalls brought on by pandemic debt and increased spending due to trade war uncertainty, Alberta and Saskatchewan are currently in the best fiscal position thanks to prudent debt management and revenue from the natural resources sector. Whereas the left-wing provinces like Manitoba, British Columbia, Quebec, pretty much all of the Maritimes, and mostly Ontario, in the red. Bad fiscal management. Go figure. Alberta has a younger population, has a really strong foundation in the oil and gas sector, which helps to boost their royalty revenue, said Richard Forbes, principal economist at the board. The report forecasts Alberta's fiscal position will improve from a $4.3 billion deficit 25-26 to a surplus of $3.9 billion by the end of the decade, and Saskatchewan's shortfall is expected to improve as well. The deficit shrinking from $373 million this year to $172 million next, with a small budget surplus for the remainder of the decade. Good fiscal management, common sense, conservative principles. That's all you need, man. The Canadian Constitution Foundation has filed a constitutional challenge in support of a group of women who were arrested for silently protesting during a Niagara Falls Council meeting on June 17th. The applicant is Lauren O'Connor. She was among the demonstrators arrested for holding small paper signs which read, "The women of Ontario say no," to advocate for stronger accountability for local officials facing criminal charges. After being denied the chance to speak as a delegation, members of the advocacy group, Women of Ontario Say No, attended the council meeting, held the signs non-disruptively in their laps. Mayor James Diodati refused to begin proceedings until the signs were put away, citing the decorum policy for public meetings, which bans all signs and symbolic materials inside council chambers. Police were called when the women refused. 3 of them, including Ms. O'Connor, were arrested for trespassing. No charges were laid. So yeah, this is definitely a charter situation. Jessica Yaniv. This is one of our friend from Rebel News, is David Menzies, is one of his favorite people. From the Justice Center of Constitutional Freedoms. And by the way, we're going to have him back. We're going to have him back not next week, but the week after. Yeah. Ontario Human Rights Tribunal dismisses Jessica Yaniv, not Simpson's, complaint against Canada Galaxy pageants. The JCCF is pleased to announce the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario has dismissed Jessica Simpson / Yaniv's complaint against Canada Galaxy pageants. The decision was issued yesterday after Simpson failed to file the materials required for the hearing, despite being given multiple extensions on previous occasions. John Carpe, by the way, I'm sorry I forgot to mention his name. John Carpe of the JCCF will be coming back on the show. Canada Galaxy pageants were fully prepared to defend itself against Simpson's discrimination allegations. The hearing was expected to feature evidence from 6 parents who plan to testify that it's not appropriate for trans women with male genitals to participate in women's beauty pageant where their underage daughters are competing. You know, getting back to what Amrit was saying earlier tonight regarding this whole thing being a demoralization tactic, I believe that is absolutely true. We can't allow this kind of nonsense to demoralize us. And the more we speak out, the more we empower ourselves. But here's the biggest thing. And you may remember this from a couple of years ago when Billboard Chris was on the show. He said that he stood on street corners all across the world with his billboard sign on, you know, whatever it happens to say that day. And he has conversations with so many people every single time he's out there with his billboard on. And once somebody has spoken to Chris and listened to Chris for 2 minutes, they are absolutely 99%. This is what Chris said. 99% of all of the people he speaks with, they agree with him 100%. The children should not be given puberty blockers, and children should not be given cross-sex hormones, and children should not be given so-called gender-affirming care, meaning having their breasts lopped off or their penises. It's a social contagion. It's a fad. That's one thing. We used to grow our hair long, you know? But that didn't affect us permanently, unless you look at pictures from 30 or 40 years ago, because those still exist. But what I'm saying here is that a young person's ability to give birth, to have kids, out the window. But that person does become $1 million or more patient for the gender-affirming surgery crowd for the rest of their lives. They're constantly on drugs, constantly going back for repair surgeries, constantly in pain. It's a gold mine, but it needs to stop. It needs to stop. And the only way we can stop it is to speak out, make fun. How ridiculous is this? It's so stupid. So go ahead and say it. Do not be afraid to say it. Blaze Media. This is Glenn Beck's thing. Trump CIA director has bad news for Hillary Clinton regarding alleged, we got to get down to the bottom of this, alleged treasonous conspiracy. The White House confirmed the CIA's declassification of the Durham Annex. Donald Trump acknowledged Friday that former President Barack Obama, likely to dodge accountability for his role in the Russia collusion hoax, on account of the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling July 1st of last year, immunity for official acts ruling in Trump versus United States. Trump suggested, however, the High Court's ruling doesn't help the people around him at all. An allusion to those Obama Kabbalists who hatched then perpetuated the Russia collusion hoax on the American people. The FBI has, for instance, launched a criminal investigation into ex-CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey for perjury and potentially other crimes related to the Trump-Russia hoax. Former DNI James Clapper indicated he would lawyer up after Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard referred damning documents detailing the genesis of the hoax's manufacture under Obama to the Department of Justice. CIA Director John Ratcliffe hinted Sunday that twice failed presidential candidate Hillary Clinton might also face the music over her apparent hand in what Gabbard has referred to as an alleged treasonous conspiracy. And that is the show tonight, my friends. I thank you for being here. I encourage you to become a member, an all-access member at shadowdavis.com. You will have the access to the extension every single night. Usually starts about 9 o'clock Central. Tonight we pushed it a little bit longer because of that fantastic conversation with Amrit. And we're going to bring him back in the next couple of weeks as well because, man, we got to continue that conversation. That was a good one, don't you think? Tonight, Vincent Vargas, who is a former member of the American military and a security and border expert, speaks with Sam Cooper of the Bureau. They're going to talk about the infiltration of Mexican and Chinese drug cartels into Canada. This is very illuminating discussion, you guys. It's coming up in the extension in just a couple of minutes at shadowdavis.com. So become a member, and you'll also have early access discount access to the Shadoe Davis merch store, which is coming in the next 3 to 4 days. I love you all, and I appreciate you all. I'll catch you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central with guest Nikki Podwerny of the band Prairie Daisy, who have been canceled by Lady of the Lakes and Brandon because of their political and religious views. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow night. For you all access Nighthawks, I'll see you in about 2 minutes. Be right back.